It's Monday, October 26th, and this is now on HNN.
We need a mask mandate, if I can be direct.
Some state leaders are calling for stricter rules when it comes to wearing face masks.
Cases of COVID-19 are surging across the country, leading to more hospitalizations and, in some cases, restrictions. I'm Naomi Ruckham with the new measures being taken to slow the spread.
We want Judge Barrett on the Supreme Court to decide law.
Judge Amy Coney Barrett is set to become Supreme Court Justice Barrett with a Senate vote on her confirmation held for tonight. I'm Deborah Alfarone on Capitol Hill with what comes next.
These stories plus more mysterious lights appear over Hawaii. The video you've got to see coming up on This Is Now.
We are seeing again the cases on Lanai. Maui had at least a couple weeks of no cases for a while, and then suddenly the Lanai situation has added to the case counts on Maui County.
New at noon, with the growing coronavirus cluster on Lanai, Governor Ige has approved Mayor Mike Victorino's request for an island-wide stay-at-home order, which goes into effect tomorrow. So far, there have been at least 78 confirmed COVID-19 cases associated with the island's outbreak.
Good afternoon. We've just posted all the details to that developing story on our HNN digital platforms. Hi everyone, I'm Jonathan alongside Ashley. Let's get right to your top stories of the day.
The state isn't reporting any new COVID-19 deaths today, but the Life Care Center of Hilo says 2 more residents have passed away over the weekend. So far, there have been 10 resident deaths at the facility. DOH is also reporting 38 new infections today. 26 cases are on Oahu, 9 are on the Big Island, 1 is on Kauai, and 2 are residents who were diagnosed out of state. Meanwhile, nationwide, the number of COVID cases is rising in 44 states. Naomi Ruckham has the latest developments.
Medical personnel tested for COVID-19 at a drive-through facility in Milwaukee. Wisconsin is one of the states where new cases are rising the fastest. More than 3,600 were reported yesterday.
We are seeing, I think, a dangerous acceleration of cases, hospitalizations, and deaths.
Nationwide, coronavirus cases are rising in 44 states. No states are seeing declines. And in the last 2 weeks, half of all U.S. states have set single-day records for new cases.
It's happening, I think, because people are getting tired of all the restrictions.
In Michigan, health officials say COVID-19 hospitalizations have surged by more than 80%. And additional tents have been set up at University Medical Center in El Paso, Texas, after local hospitals and ICUs reached capacity. County officials issued a stay-at-home order and a nightly curfew.
The reasons for the new order have to do with that we're at a crisis stage.
There are also new restrictions here in Newark, New Jersey, where cases are surging. Starting Tuesday, non-essential businesses will have to close nightly at 8 p.m. That's when restaurants will have to end dine-in service.
All barbershops, beauty parlors, nail salons, and related establishments must have appointment only and no one waiting inside. All gyms must clean and sanitize every hour on the hour. It seems desperate, but it's a desperate moment.
The governor of New Jersey says cases in the state are at levels not seen since May. Naomi Ruckham, CBS News, Newark, New Jersey.
KPD officials say 14 people have been arrested on the Garden Isle for violating quarantine rules since the pre-travel program started on October 15th. 8 of them are from the mainland. Notably, 6 of those are from Florida. It's not clear if they were traveling together or if it was just coincidence. The other 6 are Hawaii residents. We are told some of those arrested had violated the order previously, and most were caught during routine checks at their listed quarantine address. They face up to a year in jail and a $5,000 fine. In total, KPD has made 132 arrests.
Lieutenant Governor Josh Green is now calling for a statewide mask mandate to drive down new infections.
We need a mask mandate, if I can be direct. We need one that is very easy to enforce, and we all have to commit to that.
Dr. Anthony Fauci has also said that the country should consider implementing a first-ever national mandate on masks.
The John A. Burns School of Medicine is helping out with COVID-19 testing and research here on Oahu. SAMIE has more on their efforts.
Joining me is Dr. Kiave Kaholokula. He is the chair of the Department of Native Hawaiian Health here at Jabson. And you guys are putting a lot of effort toward working with Native Hawaiian communities, Pacific Islander communities. Can you tell us why you guys are focusing so much attention on these communities?
Yeah, thank you for asking that question. As you know, Native Hawaiian and Pacific Islanders are among the communities being hit the hardest by this COVID-19 pandemic. So, for example, Pacific Islanders make up 4% of the state's population, but 28% of the confirmed cases of COVID-19. So it's a huge issue for our communities. But also our Native Hawaiian and Pacific Islanders, a large number of them are essential workers. So they're being exposed out there in the community more often than not. They also live in multi-generational large households and denser communities with other essential workers. So it just increases the chances of someone from our communities being infected by COVID-19.
So I know that you and your team have been out in these communities. I mean, what have you heard from the people going through this pandemic? What are some of the things that they're going through?
Well, there's a number of things. One, of course, the financial stressors. Our families are now caregivers to their children at home while they're being schooled at home. They're also taking care of their kupuna and elders to make sure they're cared for. There's food security issues, financial issues. A lot of our people are unemployed right now, which are just huge issues. And a lot of our communities, unfortunately, we have higher number of people with chronic diseases, such as diabetes, cardiovascular disease. And being able to manage their conditions at this time is really challenging because they can't get out, they can't do the things they once could prior to this pandemic. So these are big concerns for us. So we're doing a number of things to try to address that, such as advocate and educate policymakers and others of the circumstances and what can be done. We're doing research to better address these issues to help people through this and see what we can do for the recovery period. We're working with other medical school departments, for example, in getting out trainings for telehealth, but culturally responsive telehealth so that our primary care providers can work more effectively with our communities across the state. The other thing we have done is partnered with other concerned organizations serving Native Hawaiian Pacific Islanders to form the Native Hawaiian Pacific Islander COVID-19 Response Recovery Resilience Team. It's a strong team made up of Papa'ololokahi, Office of Hawaiian Affairs, for example, We Are Oceania, and many others, including community health centers, coming together to really address the concerns of our communities.
Europe is imposing new COVID-19 restrictions as the continent is reporting a record number of cases. Ian Lee continues our coverage.
With shouts of freedom, hundreds of Italians defy an 11 p.m. curfew in Naples. Angry over recent restrictions, the harshest since last spring's lockdown, the government hopes will crush this latest wave of coronavirus cases. France is also imposing tough measures as the country leads Europe in new daily infections. President Emmanuel Macron warns the virus could be around until next summer. 2 months ago, Russia declared victory over the coronavirus, promoting a government vaccine. But that seems premature now, as the nation is seeing record-high cases. Even China, a model of combating the virus, is not immune. This week, the country detected 137 new cases in the West, leading to a regional lockdown. The UN Secretary General says the world must fight COVID together. He says basic precautions like wearing a mask not only save lives.
Protecting people from the virus is the best way to keep schools open and businesses running.
In London, scientists are going underground to see how regular cleaning helps stop the virus from spreading on public transportation. With the UK still battling a spike in cases, officials hope knowing more about COVID will help them to avoid another shutdown. Ian Lee, CBS News, London.
Hawaiian Airlines releases its summer results. Don't expect good news, Howard Dykes explains.
All the bigger airlines already reported summer revenue down 2/3 or more. Southwest lost $1 billion. United lost almost $2 billion. America more than that. Delta $5 billion. They're all burning through millions of dollars of cash a day. More on Illustrated Economics this half hour. Hawaiian, by the way, reports tomorrow after the market close. October arrivals today will top 100,000 using the state's usual measuring. The pace is double the past 3 months, but only 10% of last year. Hawaiian Airlines says traffic is only up a little so far, but it says December bookings are actually more encouraging. Banco summer profit $38 million. That's down 26% from last year on $166 million revenue, which is down 3%. But Banco still beat forecasts. Outrigger says at year's end it will cease management of 2 Wyndham resorts in Waikiki and 3 in Kona. Employees will mostly stay. They'll be paid by the new management. Still no COVID aid deal. Mnuchin and Pelosi still negotiating. They'll talk again today. But the lack of fresh stimulus has triggered a stock sell-off.
Early voting records are being shattered across the nation as the presidential election heads into the final stretch. As BOFTA Imam reports, the 2 candidates not only differ on the key issues, they also differ on how they're handling the final 8 days of the campaign.
More masks were visible, but still little to no social distancing was enforced as the president stumped through Pennsylvania Monday.
We will vanquish the virus. We will overcome the pandemic.
I got it, and I'm here, right? I'm here.
Earlier, the president broke with his chief of staff, Mark Meadows, who said Sunday the administration is, quote, not going to control the pandemic.
No, not at all. In fact, the opposite. Absolutely the opposite. We've done an incredible job.
Democratic vice presidential candidate Kamala Harris sharply criticized the president's handling of the virus during an appearance on ABC's The View.
We have witnessed the greatest failure of any presidential administration in the history of our country. On this issue, over 225,000 Americans have died.
The White House is experiencing another COVID outbreak, this time in the vice president's office, with several staffers, including Chief of Staff Mark Short, testing positive in recent days. Despite coming into close contact with his chief of staff, Vice President Mike Pence continues to campaign across the country with a rally in Minnesota.
The Iron Range is Trump country.
A spokesperson for the vice president's office says he and his wife Karen tested negative for the coronavirus Monday. BOFTA Imam, CBS News, the White House.
Minnesota and America need 4 more years of...
The Supreme Court is expected to have 9 justices again in just hours. Let's turn it over to Deborah Alfarone, has the very latest on the Senate confirmation process.
We want Judge Barrett on the Supreme Court to decide law.
Senate Republicans inch closer to confirming Amy Coney Barrett to the Supreme Court.
Judge Barrett will approach each case without prejudices or preconceived notions.
Despite objections from Democrats.
We should not be voting on this lifetime appointment while the American people themselves are in the middle of voting.
President Trump tapped Barrett to replace the late Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg following her death just 38 days ago.
So help you God.
New York Senator Kirsten Gillibrand was among Democrats who pulled an all-nighter to protest the final vote, warning the future of the Affordable Care Act is on the line.
Repealing the law in the midst of a global pandemic would result in even more chaos and devastation.
Vice President Mike Pence was set to preside over the Senate for the final vote, but Democrats urged him to reconsider given the latest coronavirus outbreak at the White House.
Now Pence is expected to remain on the campaign trail, and Barrett's confirmation all but certain, with Republicans holding the Senate majority.
I will be a yes. I have no doubt about her intellect.
The 48-year-old is expected to be seated in time to hear some key cases, including one involving LGBTQ rights on November 4th and another challenging the Affordable Care Act on November 10th. She'll also be on the bench to preside over any cases that might arise from the presidential election. Deborah Alfarone, CBS News, Capitol Hill.
And we'll be monitoring that story all day, send you the very latest in an HNN push alert. Also, be alert to our network programming might change due to any breaking news in regards to that. Let's turn it over to Guy Hoggy now with a look at what's been a very, very wet weekend. Will it be the same for the rest of our week? Here he is.
How's it on this Monday? We've got a very, very vigorous and juicy cold front due into the state. Already thunderstorms are firing up very close to Kauai. That's a lot of rain. It's heading towards the Garden Island pretty soon, expected to stretch onto Oahu by this afternoon. Because of that, there is a flash flood watch that will be posted for Niihau, Kauai, and Oahu by tonight, and it's going to be on until Thursday. It might even be extended across the rest of the state as that front moves down towards the east. Now, the winds will remain soft and scrambled, and that means the high humidity levels, the sticky weather, the sticky conditions will continue probably for the next 7 days. So today, spotty showers, possible thunderstorms with heavy rain for Kauai and Oahu, drier conditions for the east end of the state, more very warm and very humid conditions out there. And the surf's on the way down, still big, still dangerous to some extent up in the country. And the next swell heading into north and west shores is probably coming in over the weekend, probably on Saturday. That swell's not looking all that big. So again, stormy weather moving in today, expected to linger through Wednesday with spotty thunderstorms that could create some flooding conditions. And then to some extent, some of that moisture is going to linger into the weekend. Keep it here on Hawaii News Now. We'll have all your severe weather updates.
HNN was flooded with calls and messages on Saturday night and another round of reports of strange moving lights in the dark skies over the islands. I saw it. The strange phenomenon happened around 10 p.m.
Holy crap. What is it?
This is the video I shot myself in Waikiki. It was amazing, and I, like so many others, were left wondering, what the heck was that?
That was Santa, apparently.
While some believe it may have been a meteor shower, others think it may have even been extraterrestrial related. Previous sightings of similar lights, however, have been confirmed as SpaceX Starlink satellites, and that's what I thought at first. Wrong.
It cannot be Starlink or a satellite that's illuminated by sunlight because too long after sunset. So Starlink satellites are going to be eclipsed by the Earth, and they're not illuminated by the sun at 10 p.m. at night. If you're going to see the Starlink you would look for it just after sunset or just before sunrise.
Instead, astronomers at UH think the lights were the result of debris from a rocket re-entry.
My expectation is that this is almost certainly a man-made object re-entering the Earth's atmosphere. It's going too slowly to be a meteor or meteorite. And it looks like a single object that's broken up into many, many pieces. If we look at the predicted re-entries, there is a rocket booster for a Venezuelan satellite called VENASAT-1. So VENASAT-1 is in geostationary orbit, but part of the mechanism to getting it up there is a rocket booster. And the rocket booster for that satellite was scheduled to re-enter over the Atlantic Ocean at about 7:24 p.m.
That may debunk the claims of alien evidence, but one thing is for certain. The sight of strange lights over the skies of Hawaii never fails to stir up exciting conversation.
Take a video of that. I'm trying, but it's moving. What is that? Holy crap.
However, the predictions of these re-entries are really not very good. And my sort of take on what has really happened here is this thing has stayed up above the Earth in orbit for about 1 2/3 more orbits. It takes about 90 minutes to go once around the Earth. So 1 2/3 orbits gets you to 10 p.m. And if you look at the ground track for that satellite, it goes almost directly over Hawaii at 10 p.m. last night. So it's really very good match to this rocket body for the Venezuelan satellite that kind of boosted it up into orbit. Been sitting around up there for a long time, and finally the Earth's atmosphere drag slowed it down and hit the atmosphere and burned up.
And he said 10:30 last night. We did that interview yesterday. Of course, this happened Saturday night around 10, and I could not believe it. It was just crazy to see that. And I was getting videos just sent to me from everyone, so always appreciate those viewer videos, so keep them coming.
What did you think it was initially?
I really thought it was Starlink because we've done so many stories on it, so I was like, it has to be Starlink. I was totally wrong. Sorry if you saw my initial Instagram post. I was wrong.
And speaking of space things, you guys, NASA for the first time found water in broad daylight on the moon. Now, the discovery in one of the moon's largest craters visible from Earth indicates that water may be distributed across the lunar surface and not just in cold, shadowed places. Now, researchers say it was a very small amount of water, enough to fill a 12-ounce water bottle. So how did they find it? So NASA put a telescope on a modified Boeing 747 SP aircraft called SOFIA, which stands for Stratospheric Observatory for Infrared Astronomy. SOFIA flies at altitudes of up to 45,000 feet, allowing scientists to study the moon and beyond in ways not possible with ground-based telescopes.
Super cool.
Yeah.
And that has a local tie. We're going to have much more on that coming up at First at 4, so I can't wait to tell you about that. Yeah, guys, it's almost our anniversary, which I can't believe. 1 year that this is now has been coming to you on your digital platforms. And to celebrate, we're having a special Halloween costume contest. Cannot wait for this. You can submit your photos on our H&N digital platforms. We're going to pick the finalists on Wednesday, post them to our Instagram account, our H&N Instagram account, and your likes will choose the final winners. Here's some of the pictures we're already getting in this subway baby.
Good.
Whoever thought of that? Like, props. Mad props. What else we got there? Like a little Harley Quinn? Is that the clown?
Yeah,
and
clown.
Mario Kart on the beach. So cool. So cool.
Very creative, you guys. Keep them coming.
And a very appropriate day for costume contest, right?
Yep, it's National Pumpkin Day today, you guys, and the name comes from the Greek word pepon, which translates to large melon. While they're fun to decorate and carve for Halloween, pumpkins are also packed with nutrients like vitamin C, making them a perfect treat for the fall season. And in case you're wondering, the Guinness World Record for the heaviest pumpkin is just over 2,600 pounds.
Whoa.
And we don't have a lot of fireplaces here in Hawaii, but if you do have one, KFC has a fire log that smells like, yep, you guessed it, fried chicken.
Oh.
And apparently it's a big hit, selling out 2 years in a row now. If you want to try it out, it's available at select Walmart stores.
Well, last week we were talking about the masks that smell like fried chicken, now
Right.
log. Whoa. All right, getting creative there. So if you're like me, the pandemic got you bored at home sometimes. You turn into some different forms of entertainment, like board games, specifically Monopoly. Well, the sales of this classic game are soaring. Hasbro reporting 21% jump in sales. I've been playing, I had a 5-hour game this month.
Wow.
5-hour game. Yep. They say sales overall are still down, but they're expecting a jump in the holiday season.
If you ever get to play Monopoly with Jonathan, I heard he's a savage.
Yep.
Anyway, speaking of the holiday shopping season, the pandemic has had an impact on retailers' supply chains, making some items harder to find. So experts say refurbished products may fill that gap. We're going to hear from Dan Scheneman.
It wasn't long ago that refurbished or open box items got a bad rap for being shoddy, second-hand items.
The bar is actually much higher for refurbishing than it is for manufacturing.
Sender Shamas is the CEO of GoTRG, a reverse logistics company that provides retailers and manufacturers a streamlined process for returned or damaged inventory. Refurbished can mean a product that was either broken or roughed up a little, but it could also mean an item someone decided they didn't want anymore.
And we handle thousands of vendors and manufacturers and distributors.
GoTRG processes over 1 million items each week.
People think that what's bought in a store or online usually ends up back on the shelf, and that's the furthest thing away from the truth.
Once returns hit the warehouse, turnaround time is pretty quick.
Approximately 7 days to process these goods. We've done it in as little as 3 days.
Like new items are then made available on the secondary market.
We have brands like VIP Outlet, thestore.com. There's wholesale brands like directliquidation.com, but we sell a lot on eBay, Amazon, Walmart Marketplace.
Buying a refurbished product can save money compared to buying it new.
Consumers are price sensitive and they will take advantage of a deal if they find one.
Giving a product a second life instead of sending it off to be recycled. Dan Scheneman, NBC News.
Ooh, getting ready for those holidays. You guys, that's going to do it for This Is Now. A lot of press conferences coming up. Look for those H&N digital push alerts.